Knowing when someone's going to attack you has to be a credible skill. So understanding non-verbal aggressive behavior is essential for your self-defense. So keep watching. Body language experts discuss micro-expressions, flaring of the nostrils, the narrowing of the eyebrows, the squinting of the eyes. All of these are very hard to detect when you're in the middle of it, but it doesn't necessarily give you any indication when they're going to throw their attack. If it's hard to pick pre-attack cues from facial expressions, you can certainly get it from the way that the body moves. But having some understanding of the way the person postures, the way they show their chest, the angles of their shoulders, all give you a better indication of their readiness to engage in a fight. But more importantly, it gives you some understanding of their emotional content. This is what happens when two dads fight over a softball game. Now, I can't show the full fight on YouTube, but what we can do is dig into the non-verbal behavior. I'm just going to call the guy in the grey an antagonist. So he started having an argument with the guy in the burgundy t-shirt, and now he's moving on to continuing this argument with someone else. Classic sign of someone that's agitated or upset. But when someone walks towards you with their arms spread wide, that undoubtedly is a form of aggression, but it's much more an element of intimidation. What I want you to pay attention to, guy in the grey t-shirt puts his things in his pocket. And we've spoken about this before in previous videos. Watch out for what people do with their hands. Once they start putting their things away, they mean you harm. And that is another cue of action that you have to pay attention to. It's another indication that that person's likely to attack you. And it's fairly reliable because they have to free their hands to get into action. Generally, when we're arguing, we're trying to intimidate people. We go for a large, expansive space. We expand our chest on our body language and we hold our arms in a wider space. And this is a classic example of someone that is agitated. So the worst thing you can ever do is allow them into your personal space. That's a given. But what tends to happen with most people is they get sucked into arguments and they get drawn into the emotional content of what's being said. And that in itself distracts them. And that's why you have to keep a clear mind in an argument. Don't get pulled into the emotional content of what's happening. You try to stay as objective as you can, but when you get distracted by the argument and the space suddenly closes between you and the person that's being the aggressor, then that puts you at a disadvantage. It puts you at a high risk of being attacked suddenly as it escalates to confrontation because you're giving the person what they want. You're giving them the closure of the space. And I've said this so many times, that confrontations often start with space closure followed by a push, followed by a punch. It's almost a ritual of fighting. And the push is the trigger. It's almost a justification that now that you've put your hands on me, it's go time. Because it frees people psychologically to fight. It gives them the justification to start throwing punches. And it works both ways. Because anytime someone puts their hands on you, if they push you, you feel justified to hit them. And if they push you, they feel committed to hit you. But most of the time, the reason why people push is to make space. Most people lack the ability to punch with power at a close range. So the takeaway, don't get sucked into arguments. Pay attention to the behavioral signs, because if you focus primarily on the argument and the emotional content of what's happening, you'll miss all the non-verbal behaviors that are happening around you. And that could be risky and dangerous for you. Thanks for watching.